You try to leave the NBA draft with a prospect that could be the best at something. And we might have left the draft with the best defensive player in this draft. High IQ, can guard on the ball, can guard off the ball, help defense, his awareness, his athleticism. I mean, these are all things that are extremely hard to teach.
Let's talk about Ryan Dunn. Pick 28 yesterday for the Phoenix Suns, a athletic freak, a guy who is known for his defense. We got a few comments from the GM, James Jones, but I want to recap how you guys feel about him.
Yeah, I mean, I like the pick. I have my concerns about the offensive end, but I do think that the finishing ability is there, and hopefully with the shooting that they put around him, they'll be able to at least make him passable on the offensive end.
Yeah.
You don't want situations where you're playing 4-on-5, trying to score 4 against 5 defenders because they're just completely ignoring him. But defensively, the upside is clear. He's the best defensive playmaker, best defender in the draft by far. We had been saying all week, like, the Suns need more plus-size defensive-minded wings. That is Ryan Dunn to a T. He's going to be scary on that end if he can just be passable on offense.
Yeah, I mean, again, you guys know how I feel. I'm super excited about Ryan Dunn, have been for quite some time. You try to leave the NBA draft with a prospect that could be the best at something, and we might have left the draft with the best defensive player in this draft. High IQ, can guard on the ball, can guard off the ball, help defense, his awareness, his athleticism. I mean, these are all things that are extremely hard to teach. I'm with Gerald. You know, it's okay to have the concerns about offense, but I also think that what he brings on the other side super exceeds that and gives me a little bit of hope that, you know, in time, these things offensively he can fix, and he could become a guy that we're talking about in 2-3 years. As a guy, when we get closer to 2026 and you get closer to the possibility of Devin Booker being under contract, and, you know, we don't know who else is going to be on this team, but he could be a future piece that we're sitting back and remembering this draft and saying, wow, we got that guy at 28. So super, super excited. I spent another 3 hours watching his film last night, and I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep with the excitement I got with, you know, just how good this guy is defensively.
Well, James Jones did address Ryan Dunn's shooting, and let's hear what he had to say last night.
You know, he's improving, and what he was asked to do at Virginia was to defend, and, you know, he relied on his athleticism. The shooting isn't where he wanted it to be or where we think it will be in a few years. But he's an impactful player, and great players find a way to impact the game, not just with the offensive box score. And so I'm confident with our staff, with Bud, our coaches, that will allow him, or he'll be primed to improve as a shooter. And if he can do that and do it quickly, I think we found a gem.
Yeah, he hit the nail right on the head, and we've been hearing the buzz that he impressed a lot of teams in these pre-draft workouts with the shooting ability, with what he was able to do in competitive settings, not just on the defensive end. So hopefully this is something that he could surprise us. I think the poor free throw shooting is a rough sign, because normally when you see guys that struggled to shoot the 3-ball in college, at least they were in the 70s free throw wise. He's at 53%, but that doesn't mean he can't improve. He's still young.
And I went back and I looked at Ryan Dunn, and I looked at him early last year at Virginia. And at one point, he was as high as 71% from the free throw line. And then it kind of dipped off a little bit. But again, I don't see anything in his shot that screams deficiency, right? Mechanically sound. You know, we talk about, you know, whether it's balance, elbow, eyes, feet. Like, these are the things you look at in a jump shot. And when I look at his balance, I look at his eyes, I look at his elbow, I look at his feet, I see a guy that mechanically can get it done. He just hasn't taken enough shots and hasn't been put in a situation where they want him to embrace taking those shots. That matters. Like, when you're playing at Virginia, they're one of the slower teams in the country, very methodical about offense, defense. And when you're not being encouraged to take those shots, that can deal with the psyche of a player. But in the workouts, he shot it well. And so again, I got no reason to believe that this guy, at some point, if this guy can make 1 out of every 3, you're loving this pick. 30%, what he brings defensively and athleticism wise, you just can't teach, and so you love it.
I think you're right. Some of it has to do with confidence for sure. We'll talk with Drew Hanlon a little bit later. You and Lindsay got a chance to catch up with him, and he'll talk about, from a trainer's perspective, how you can work and fix a shot as well. So we'll talk on that later. But I do want to hear from James Jones on his overall thoughts on how they did on night 1 of the NBA draft.
I thought tonight was a good night for us. We came into the game, to the draft with a couple of objectives. We wanted to get more athletic. Defensively on the perimeter, we wanted to add some size and some youth. And I thought that we were able to do 2 things tonight. Get the player that we wanted, moving back, and pick up other assets and capital for the future to continue to allow us to have more resources to build the team for the long term.